Paul, and today I'm an old man with a dry suit, but it's a dry suit with a problem. If I find you one of the dry suit socks, you can see where it's been hanging for a couple of years in my loft. In fairness, what it's done is it's perished on the latex sock, and so what I'm going to do today is try and replace the latex sock, or socks, two of, in true Blue Peter style, which will not be understood by anyone that's not in England. I have done one. Here's one I prepared earlier, and it's going to take 24 hours to completely cure the adhesive. So what you're going to see is tomorrow. That doesn't make sense. And you're going to see me do the second one, and we'll see how we get on. I'll explain what I looked at to get the advice to do the first one, and I'll tell you the extra points that I encountered that didn't appear on the videos that I watched. So let's head over to a random workbench somewhere and see what we can do. Okay, let me explain where I started. I started with a search online for replacement boots or socks for dry suits, and I found the Stormsure.com website, which is somewhere in the UK from what I recall. And on there it had these 3D dry suit socks. Then I started watching some videos. I watched the Stormsure one, I watched I think it's Drysuit Repairs, and one from a boat company from the States who unfortunately have now gone bankrupt, but theirs was a really good video. I will link all three videos that I found in the description below, and give the information for their websites, because that's where I got my initial help from. So I ordered the kit, and in the kit I got this box. In the box I got two of these socks. The other one is already on the dry suit, which I've already done. I got a tube of this Stormsure adhesive. I got a spatula spreader thing and a pair of gloves, but I didn't use them because I get nitrile gloves from work, so nitrile is what it was. So all good. So I watched, as I say, I watched a lot of videos online, and first of all, obviously, we have to remove the existing sock. The first video I watched kind of tore at the sock and wasn't very successful. The second video I watched cut the sock away at the bottom of the dry suit trouser leg, if you like, so around about there, that's where the trouser leg ends, and it cut it away there, and I wasn't really happy with that, because I noticed in a couple of places that the sock was actually already coming unbonded from the trouser leg, and I thought, well, that's no good. If it's already coming unbonded and all I'm doing is cutting it off and gluing another one on top, then all it's going to do is fall off in time. So I searched a bit more, long story short, and found that the thing to do is warm this up, and the glue kind of melts, softens, and you can take it off. And sure enough, that's exactly what I did. So let me get my heat gun and I will demonstrate. From reading some of the information online, I believe that it's possible to do this with a hairdryer. It's unlikely that I'm going to have access to my wife's hairdryer to be doing this. Yeah, her tools don't come outside, my tools don't go inside, unless something needs fixing on the house. So I have a heat gun. Please casually ignore the health and safety issue on the end of it. put it on setting 1, the cooler setting. You hear it now. And I just wave it backwards and forwards over the leg. And all of a sudden, you see it kind of change its appearance. Sort of goes matte, if you like, as it warms up. And once it's done that, it just peels straight off. It's awesome. So all we do is we work our way round the leg. As you can see, it's not getting desperately hot. It's still cool enough for me to touch. I mean, it feels warm, but it's not burning me or anything, so no particular drama there. And there we have it, one removed sock. And if I turn it upside down and hold it up towards the camera, you can see in more detail why I had to change it, because that's right on the fold line, and the fold line has been like that probably for a good few years, maybe 2, 3, 4 years, could be even more, because it hasn't been used. So make sure this is not overlapping on itself and sticking to itself, and we're going to leave that to cool down and for the glue to dry off again, if you like. Okay, so back at the bench. It's the following morning from the last segment of video, approximately 12 hours later. I know I said I was going to wait 24 hours because that's what it said on the glue, but it isn't. I reread the tube and it doesn't say anything about a curing time at all, so I don't know where I got that bit of information. Must have been off one of the videos I watched, but it's not relevant to this Stormsure glue, which actually says stick it together and that's it, job done. Anyway, no harm done. I can't get out paddling at the moment anyway, because despite the fact it's a beautiful sunny day out there at the moment, the weather has been diabolical in my area for the last 2 weeks, and all the rivers are in a state of flood. So no paddling for me at the moment, which gives me ample opportunity to mess about doing stuff like this. So we'll take all the tape off. And first of all, we'll have a look around the edge. There's a couple of places where it's got a bit too much of an overlap, so I might go round that with a bit more glue once I've done the other leg. Yeah, it's just that one point. What I need to do though is take out the stuff that I've got holding the leg open, if you like, in place, to provide a former for gluing. And I need to explain that because it's one of the more important things, and it was quite a challenge. So I'll show you on the next bit of video how I actually put this lot together. But what I'm taking out now is all the stuff that's inside the leg that's holding it in shape. So I've got a roll of duct tape, I've got 3 bits of tube, bit of large diameter plastic piping with a cut in it, and another bit of large diameter plastic piping with a cut in it. So if I just do this, basically that's what I had inside the leg to hold it in place, to get the correct diameter to put the sock over. That's the old sock, the one I took off, the one with the split in it. So I need to cast that away so that I don't end up putting it back on again. That's the new one. And what we want to do is we want to hold the leg of the dry suit open so that we get a good tight fit with the sock over the top of the suit. Okay, let's just move that little lot out of the way for a minute. And here's the one I've done. Let's turn it back right side out. You can see what the repair looks like on the outside. Just turn the cuff up and I can go around it. A little bit of fraying on the edge there. A little bit of excess glue on the edge there. But overall, I think I'm happy with that. Of course, the proof will be in the putting it on and standing in some water, and that is yet to come. So that's one leg done. So what we need to do then is we need to get the former in here to hold this leg open so that we can get the new sock over the top of it. And whilst I talk about that, something that I realised as I was almost committing to the point of gluing when I did the first leg is there's something really important. Most of the videos I watched are actually about replacing gaskets, and of course a gasket doesn't have a front, a back, a side, it's just round and it's uniform all the way round. A dry suit sock has a front, the direction that your foot goes in. So it's pretty important to get the foot, the sock, in the right position on the dry suit leg. And I literally only just realised that before I glued the thing together. So what I did is, to do the gluing, you have to turn the sock inside out so the white writing is on the outside. And what I then did was I got a marker pen, and I don't know whether that will show up or not. I got a black marker pen, obviously for black fabric, and I put a line just where the fold is at the back of the foot. I then found out where the back of the trouser leg is, and it happens to coincide with this seam. And so what I do is I line that mark up with this seam, and I've not seen that mentioned anywhere else on any other video, so it's well worth bearing in mind. Okay, we continue. Let me just shove the bulk of this out the way over to the corner of the table, and we can work on this. So I said what I needed was a former to hold the leg open, and you'll see people using various things. You'll see people using like drinks bottles, you'll see people with bits of pipe, you'll see all sorts of things. But a couple of the videos that I saw had what was effectively a spring of pipe that they then wedged with like a rod inside it, and I thought, well, that's all right. I've seen a bit of pipe like that in Screwfix. Screwfix, if you're not from the UK, Screwfix are a UK, as far as I know, based building supplies, building tools supplier. Anyway, this was a connection for a toilet pan. I'll stick a picture in and you can see what it looked like originally. And I cut it up, cut it down the side, thinking that what I could do was do the same idea, put some rods across inside, and that would work. It didn't. I had all sorts of problems because this is quite flexible, and because it's in two pieces, not a coil. I had all sorts of problems with getting the rods in the right place, which is why I've got this fabric tape on the inside to try and get them to kind of grip on the inside. Anyway, it didn't work, so it's meaningless. What I eventually did was I found if I shoved my roll of duct tape in the middle and then packed it out a bit further with a couple of bits of this rod, that just about made it big enough, as I will now demonstrate. In case you wonder what all these horrible marks are, this had like a ridge round it, and I was just trying to get rid of it, and I did it with my hot knife. Made a bit of a mess, but did the job. So we put that inside. Oh, also I didn't cut it evenly, which was an epic fail. But what I found was it was easiest if I got the end of the former just further than the glue line. So I put the two pieces inside the leg, then I shove the roll of duct tape in, even it out a bit, and that's still a bit loose. So what I then did was shoved a couple of these bits of pipe in the side, and that kind of tightened it up. So then just pull this back a bit so that I'm a sort of evenish distance from the glue line to the end of the former. In fairness, it doesn't desperately matter where I get that, but what is important is that I have enough space on this side excuse me, to get the sock on to get it in the right position, and it is close. So remembering back, there is my rear of trouser leg mark. That's the seam that's at the back. Here is my rear of sock mark. Oh, what is interesting, they're not actually cut evenly. There's a little bit of a wavy line there, which is probably why the gluing didn't work out exactly right on the other one. I hadn't noticed that before. We'll look at that again as we go through. So faff about. And get the sock into place. And what I want to do is pull it right the way up to the top of the glue line. Pull that back a bit. I did notice that the other sock actually had about 1/8 of an inch of glue sticking out the top of it, something like that. So somewhere around this position will do nicely. Okay, then what I do is I get some masking tape, or painter's tape if you're in the States, I think you guys call it. And what I want to do is I want to establish where the end of the trouser leg is. And I want to tape round at that point as tight as I can. Now what I did with the last one was I left it at that, but what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put another row of tape round, and I'll explain why once I've done it. Okay, so fully taped now. And what we need to do now is roll that back. So I roll it back to where the tape is. I then close any gaps between the trouser leg and the sock. And here is the reason why I put the extra row of tape on. On the first one I only had one row of tape, and I found that when I was putting the glue on here I was worrying about getting the glue on this part of the sock and that part of the sock. So this time I've put an extra row of tape round so that I can happily go over the edge of the sock and it's not going to matter. Paul here in the edit with an epic fail admission. I completely forgot a step here. You're supposed to get wet and dry or sandpaper or something and apply some abrasion to the surfaces that you're going to glue to allow them to key better. I entirely forgot this step. Couple of months on since I actually recorded it, now I'm editing it up, and it doesn't seem to have made a massive amount of difference. The sock hasn't fallen off, so I'm happy enough with it. But to follow the instructions correctly, you should abrade the surfaces. Okay, let's do some gluing then. Got some nitrile gloves on, got the glue, got the spreader. And what I'm going to do is start from a known point. So I'm going to go from this seam and I'm going to put some glue on both bits, and I'm going to spread it out. And this time, as I say, I've not got to worry so much about going over the edge. I've probably put too much on there, but I can spread it further round. I think if I was doing this on a regular basis, one of the things I'd do is buy the glue in a tin so that I could apply it with a brush. This spreader's alright for what it is, but it could do with something a bit better, really. No matter. So we put the glue, spread it out. It's got some quite strong fumes, this glue. So if you are sensitive to that sort of thing, this might be something you want to do out in the garden or outdoors somewhere. Just about back at the beginning now, just a tiny bit more. And it says leave that 3 or 4 minutes to touch dry, and then put a second coat on. So we'll park that for a moment, just stick the cap back on the glue for a minute, wander off and do something else for a moment, and I'll see you in a minute. Okay, a few moments later, as the popular meme has it, just check all the glue is touch dry, and we'll put another coat on. Something I didn't mention, I've got a piece of silicone baking paper on my table to try and avoid getting the leg or the sock stuck to the table, and off we go again. Okay, that was foolish. Let's just put a little bit more on there because I stuck my fingers to it. And I've just realised I completely forgot to do something. What you're supposed to do is rough up the sock with a bit of abrasive paper, and I've completely forgotten to do that. So we're going to hope that that works. I did the other one, so be an interesting comparison to make. But yes, what I should have done was roughed up the sock so that the glue sticks better, and I've singularly failed to do that. So we'll see how it bonds, and if it doesn't bond, then what I'll do is I'll just take it apart and I'll completely repeat the process. First one I'm happy with, this one schoolboy error, but there you go. So we've got to leave it another 3 to 4 minutes, well, give it 5, and then I'll flip the seal edge over and glue it up, and we'll see how it looks. We've had about 5 minutes now, so I'm going to roll the seal over into position. make sure it doesn't get twisted over itself. And what I'm going to do is put some tape round nice and tight to hold it in position. Because even though, as I say, according to the instructions, it doesn't need a curing time, I'm going to leave it for the day because I'm off out for the day any minute now, and I'm going to come back and do the final part of the taking that masking off this evening. So I'll see you then. Okay then, so moment of truth. Later that day. Let's take off the tape. Okay, so we've got a bit of over glue where I've glued around the edge there, but I can live with that, I'm not worried about that. Okay, tape off. Let's have a look round it. Well, to be fair, that seems pretty well stuck. So, we'll take the support out the leg. I can find my way into the leg. Take the 3 rods out first. Unroll the duct tape. One bit of plastic insert, 2 bits of plastic insert, and we'll turn it right side out. Pull the cuff back and let's have a look. Well, in fairness, I was concerned this morning, but I'm happy with that. I've got a bit of extra glue around the edge, but that's not going to show. It's going to be underneath the cuff, so I'm not going to worry about it. So, give me a minute to turn it out completely, and I will be back. Paul here again in the edit. I've chucked a bit of the video out because it was kind of worthless. Anyway, this is me a week or so ago, sat on the riverbank with my feet dangling in the water to prove the integrity of the seals. And yes, I can report back they are perfectly fine. I've worn it a couple of 3 times since. I was considering immersing myself entirely in the water, but the flow rate was such that I didn't particularly want to end up getting washed downstream and end up in the weir. So there you have it. In my opinion, a reasonable success. Okay, so I think I'm happy to call that a success. Hopefully you'll agree. What would I do differently next time? Well, first and foremost, I have already written a check sheet, tick sheet, to make sure that I do everything that I need to do in order. What I will be doing is putting a blog post over on oldmanwith.com, and I'll put the check sheet as a download in there. If you want it, you're welcome to it. I think the second most important thing that I've learned, I guess, is if I was doing it again, or particularly if I were doing more than one, I've got a CAG that the seals are, they're all right, I can live with them, but maybe I'll think about changing them. And without a doubt, I would definitely do something better than this if I possibly can. I'm not sure how I would do it. I've looked at 6-inch 160mm polypropylene underground soil pipe, but I don't know if that's going to be too rigid, because that will be too big. It's going to be sort of something like that size, which would be too big to fit in the leg. So I don't know if I slit it whether it'll curl down enough or whether it'll just be too rigid. So that's going to be a matter of experimentation. Of course, if I'm doing the sleeves on my CAG, then they're going to be smaller diameter anyway. So maybe I'm going to be able to use a fizzy pop bottle, or I don't know, something like that. For sure, I mean, this worked. It's kind of proved itself. If I was doing it a lot, I wouldn't be happy with that. It's a bit of a rubbish solution. But other than that, like I say, I'm happy with it. I think what I would also want to do is, instead of having the little, don't know what I've done with it now, the little spreader stick thing, which has disappeared on my desk somewhere. Oh, there it is. Instead of having this, I think maybe I'd consider using some sort of brush. One of the guys on one of the other videos I saw, I think, using a brush that he'd cut the bristles short. So maybe I'd consider doing that experiment with that, just to get a more even finish. This didn't give a particularly even finish. Picky maybe. Outside of that, very happy with the outcome. I think the kit cost me £18, £20, something like that. I'll put the actual price up on the screen, from Stormsure. Since then, I've seen the neck seals and latex socks and wrist seals available in various other places. If I can find a few places that sell them, I will again add it to the blog post on oldmanwith.com, and you're more than welcome to use the links. I have no connection with any of them. I just found them on a Google search, bought the stuff, and there you go. So I think, as I normally say, there you have it. Hope that's been of some use to you. If it has, great. If it hasn't, sorry for wasting your time. Thanks for watching if you've made it this far, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.